Many people think that regulation is a headmaster with a whip, putting people, in line. Maybe at one stage or the other, one may need to do that. But I think regulation is nothing but communication and collaboration with partners rather than subordinates. Regulation must be coordinated. It has to be communicated. It's not a one-line communication, and it's not strangulation. Some of the reasons it's not very lucid because of absence of a lucid, legal framework. For some industries, there is actually over-regulation, and the regulated people tend to say that, oh, we have collected, tax here. Somebody will come, like when you put up a mask by the communication companies. The federal government are already paying, but then the local government will come, the community leaders, all sort of regulation. So today, we have very important people here who will come and discuss this. The reason why I'm choosing this, we have nascent regulation in Nigerian Shippers Council. We are trying to, I don't call Shippers Council a regulator, I call them moderators, because we ought to moderate certain things that's happening.
We had a very interesting session on regulation, and what we did was to start by asking the question, what are the experiences and the challenges that people have faced in regulation, what are the challenges people have faced in either their personal capacity or their business or in advising people. And a lot of people came back with many issues, many of which even you, sir, as a super regulator in your personal capacity, you would have faced. There are challenges around implementation, and great example was Executive Order 01 that states so many good things about how you can go ahead and assume that a license has been given, but in reality, you can't make that assumption, you can't do that. The fear of punitive action from your regulator, so you cannot act because your regulator will take certain steps against you. There was an issue about maybe the regulators and even the regulated don't understand the purpose of regulation. And asking that fundamental question, why am I doing this? And I think it all comes from sometimes, and maybe we didn't say this directly in the session, but if you go back to our political history and you look at the fact that we were for many years governed by the military, and a lot of the institutions that we have derived from sort of that military background, there is a sense that the job of the regulator is to look for you doing something wrong and to punish you.
Is the consumer protected in Nigeria? And the fact that we have the same body that regulates also being the same body that is going to essentially provide protection to consumers. Is it okay? Does it work for us? I think our group agreed that it does, but the problem is that there are no real mechanisms in place. People don't understand, how they can, if they have issues, that's consumers. If they have issues, where do they go? What do they do? So there's a lack of information out there as to how, consumers can be protected anyway. Where do you do that? And there's also a lack of trust. Came to is that there's a need for mechanisms to be put in place to protect consumers. We need to create the right structures, processes, and systems that are, that consumers are educated about, so that they can, at the end of the day, know where they can be protected. We looked at that based on the rights of the consumer, consumer responsibilities, business obligations, sales and promotions regulations and guidelines, monitoring, compliance, complaint resolution, surveillance and enforcement, quality assurance and development, consumer education, and research and strategy.
To ensure that the competition rules contained in the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act, as well as the competition rules contained in other sector regulators, are enforced in such a way to minimize conflict and to also so as not to put unnecessary burden on market operators. Now that's our conclusion, and that's the agenda we set for NESG. But what underpins that is that industry players are concerned about what will be the implication of having two regulators regulating the same thing. So the sector regulators have remit over competition in their own sectors, and also we have now the competition authority that has this overarching competition regulatory power. So what will be the implication? Will it lead to overregulation? Will it lead to disruption? And all that. So there's this apprehension. I'm also looking at the fact that many sector regulators don't seem to have implemented sector regulation very well in their sector. So we also have this issue about the clarity, whether these regulations are clear, or to rephrase it, these regulations should be clear, they should be transparent, they should be enforced fairly across all the operators in the market so that nobody is given undue advantage.
Regulation should not be an abstract thing. It's not regulation for regulation's sake, but regulation for impact on the economy. So with that, I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Forward the